South Korea is one of the world's biggest gaming countries thanks to its unique culture. Ever since its StarCraft days, social gaming sessions at PC cafes were normal, which may be why Korea is one of the strongest countries in the esports scene. So it's no surprise that Korea is home to a healthy number of streamers. However, on December 5th, 2023, Twitch made a sudden announcement that said it decided to shut down in Korea on February 27th, 2024. Which obviously contradicts what I've just said. Korea seems like a good place to do business, right? So what exactly happened here? Well, the same official statement says that network fees in Korea are still 10 times more expensive than in most other countries, and that they tried to cut costs using various methods, including a peer-to-peer network model and lowering the maximum resolution. And despite all their attempts, they seem to have failed to reduce costs. So what makes Korea's network so expensive? Korea's internet service providers, or ISPs, actually have a policy they call the network use fee. This fee is collected in proportion to how much traffic is generated by a company and was collected from all Korean companies, which already is very strange. But the problem began when non-Korean sites like Facebook, YouTube, and Netflix started blowing up. These sites generated never-before-seen amounts of traffic, and the local ISPs saw this as a good opportunity to earn some extra money. They started claiming that it was only fair that they collect the same network fee from non-Korean companies. Now to clarify, this network use fee makes no sense at all. The internet is owned by one company, which brings up the question, why is this a thing in the first place? Well, the short story is that Korean ISPs actually have a surprisingly consistent history of shady business. Now this is some left field content for a game channel, so I'll try to keep it simple with a few examples. Back in 2013, one of the 3 Korean ISPs sold 2 satellites to a Hong Kong satellite operator. The problem was that they sold them without the Korean government's permission. You see, satellites are extremely valuable national assets because ownership means possession of the area they use when they circle the globe. So in a sense, a private company sold off Korean territory for profit, which is bad itself. But there were 2 other problems. The first is that the selling price was ridiculously low, leading to suspicions. The second problem actually confirmed these suspicions. The ISP worker that initiated the sale very conveniently transferred to the buying company and led the purchasing side of the deal. Huh, what a coincidence. Another example is how 5G was handled in Korea. Consumers were forced to use 5G if they bought new phones, and were charged extra for the new service. The problem was that a few years later, the Korean ISPs officially gave up on 5G after failing to provide proper network speeds, which basically means they scammed the nation. The odd thing is that consumers weren't compensated in any way. In fact, the exact opposite happened. 5G plans are still the main product. Now to play the devil's advocate, Twitch Korea is being accused of underreporting their revenue in Korea by up to 90%. So Twitch isn't exactly the good guy either. Still, major tech companies had built cache servers, which are basically smaller replicas of the main servers. These cache servers serve 2 purposes. 1, they lowered costs for Korean ISPs. And 2, allowed the tech companies to provide faster service to Korean customers. Which sounds ideal and was how things operated, until they didn't. Yeah, it's the same companies get greedy story all over again. And it's a real mess because the Korean ISPs have basically asked everyone for money, from Facebook to Netflix to Twitch, and even Epic Games, with some of these ending up as court disputes. And you might think it's a losing battle for the ISPs, but I guess the world operates differently. After all, there has to be a reason why they got away with so much questionable stuff. And honestly, this is some really muddy water we're treading on, and I've got no idea what's going on underneath the surface. But things apparently haven't been getting better. The network fee almost got passed as a law recently. Maybe Twitch was evading taxes. Many companies make subsidiaries just for that. But even if that's true, it's no wonder Twitch got tired of playing by the other team's rules. And if Twitch is only the first to fall, it's a losing game for everybody. Obviously, it sucks for people living in Korea, but with prolonged isolation, we might never see games like Lies of P or celebrities like Faker ever again. Who knows, maybe we'll never see another Squid Game as well. But that's not where it ends. What if other ISPs decide that they want to make easy money as well? Korea has a big economy, and if ISPs can get away with it here, who knows what can happen in other countries. Thanks for watching.